Choosing the right plants for my garden is one of the most important decisions I make as a gardener. When I first started, I made the mistake of picking plants simply because they looked beautiful at the nursery. But over time, I learned that not every plant will thrive in my garden's unique conditions. If you've ever struggled with keeping plants alive or wondered why some just don't seem to do well, this guide will help you make better choices. And don't forget to subscribe to and share this guide with fellow gardening enthusiasts. One of the first things I check before bringing a new plant into my garden is its hardiness zone. Plant hardiness zones, also known as growing zones, tell me whether a plant can survive the climate where I live. These zones are based on average annual minimum temperatures, and they help gardeners determine which plants can handle their region's winters. If a plant isn't suited to my zone, it may not survive the cold, or may struggle with extreme heat. To find my zone, I look up my local plant hardiness zone map, which is widely available online. Once I know my zone, I check plant labels and descriptions to see if they match. If I live in Zone 6, for example, and a plant is recommended for Zones 3 to 8, I know it will likely thrive in my area. However, if it's only suited for Zones 9 to 11, I know it's not a good fit unless I plan to grow it indoors, or in a controlled environment like a greenhouse. Beyond hardiness zones, I also consider the overall climate of my region. Some plants thrive in dry, arid environments, while others need constant moisture. If I live in a humid area, I make sure the plants I choose won't suffer from fungal issues due to excess moisture. If my region experiences strong winds, I look for sturdy plants that can handle tough conditions. Understanding my local weather patterns helps me avoid choosing plants that are doomed from the start. Another crucial factor I consider is how much sunlight my garden receives. Some plants need full sun, which means at least 6 hours of direct sunlight each day, while others prefer partial shade or full shade. I spend time observing my garden throughout the day to see which areas get the most light and which are shaded. If I plant a sun-loving flower in a shady spot, it won't bloom well, and if I place a shade-loving plant in direct sunlight, it might get scorched. When planting my garden, I match plants to the light conditions they need. I also consider how sunlight changes with the seasons. In summer, certain areas may get more intense sun than they do in the cooler months, so I adjust my plant choices accordingly. Soil is the foundation of a healthy garden, so I always check whether my soil is suitable for the plants I want to grow. Different plants prefer different types of soil. Some thrive in rich, loamy soil, while others do well in sandy or clay-heavy conditions. To get an idea of my soil type, I take a handful of it and feel its texture. If it crumbles easily, it's likely sandy. If it feels sticky when wet, it may have a lot of clay. Loamy soil, which is ideal for most plants, has a balanced mix of sand, silt, and clay. If my soil isn't ideal for a plant I want to grow, I amend it with compost or organic matter to improve its structure and fertility. I also consider the soil's pH level. Some plants prefer acidic soil, while others do best in alkaline or neutral conditions. Testing my soil helps me make better choices and create a healthier environment for my plants. Watering is another important factor I consider when choosing plants. Some plants need frequent watering while others are drought tolerant and can go long periods without moisture. Since I prefer a low-maintenance garden, I try to choose plants with similar watering needs. Grouping plants with similar moisture requirements together makes watering easier and prevents issues like overwatering or underwatering. I also take into account natural rainfall in my area. If I live somewhere with regular rain, I don't need to worry as much about watering. However, if my region experiences dry spells, I choose plants that can handle drought or set up an irrigation system to keep my garden healthy. Before bringing a plant home, I always ask myself how much maintenance I'm willing to do. Some plants require frequent pruning, deadheading, or fertilizing, while others grow well with little intervention. If I have limited time, I opt for low-maintenance plants that thrive with minimal care. If I enjoy hands-on gardening, I might choose plants that need regular attention to keep them looking their best. I also consider how large a plant will get over time. Some plants start small but grow rapidly, potentially outgrowing the space I have for them. I always check the mature size of a plant to make sure it fits well in my garden and won't overshadow other plants. When selecting plants, I think about how they will interact with the rest of my garden. Companion planting helps me create a balanced ecosystem where plants support each other. For example, I plant marigolds near vegetables to help deter pests, and I group plants with similar nutrient needs together to make fertilizing easier. Aesthetics also play a role in my plant choices. I consider color combinations, textures, and plant heights to create a visually appealing garden. Some plants provide structure, while others add seasonal interest with flowers or foliage. By planning my garden layout carefully, I ensure that it looks great year-round. Choosing the right plants for my garden makes a huge difference in how successful and enjoyable gardening is. When I take the time to match plants to my growing conditions, I reduce the risk of failure and create a thriving, low-maintenance garden. Understanding hardiness zones, climate, soil, and water needs helps me make informed decisions and avoid costly mistakes. If you're planning your garden, I encourage you to research each plant before bringing it home. Observe your space, test your soil, and consider how much time you're willing to invest in maintenance. With the right approach, you'll have a beautiful, resilient garden that flourishes for years to come. If this guide helped you, don't forget to subscribe to and share it with other gardeners. Happy planting!